Hello guys, how are you guys? My name is Matamera. So today I'm going to be teaching you guys mathematics of financing. So we're going to be speaking about mathematics of financing because of you guys assignments. It need you to know what I'm going to be teaching. So we're going to deal with mathematics of financing. I'll just write maths of financing, guys. Yeah, I'll just write maths of, let's say maths of financing. Right. Let me just adjust my hand properly. Then we proceed with our lesson. Is math of financing. Finance. Okay, I hope I'm gonna adjust properly as time goes on. So with mathematics of financing, we're going to start with a simple interest or SI. So this is called a simple interest. Actually, I'm supposed to say SI like that so that you can see it. So it's called simple interest. Simple interest. So with simple interest, you must know the formula of a simple interest. What is simple interest? So simple interest is when you're going to be using this formula whereby you can say A equals to, let's say, our A there. Let me just erase this one. Let's say we're gonna say our A, which is accumulative amount, is going to be equals to P. Normally, when you write it, guys, you write it, it's as PRT. So normally in your box, it's gonna say S equals to PRT. So in this A here, this is accumulative amount. We call it accumulative amount. Accumulative amount. Or you can say sum to. Accumulative amount or sum to. Or sum, you can also use the word sum to. So with this equation, when we already discussed about the accumulative amount or sum to, this is a principal amount. I'm gonna indicate it with red, principal amount. Principal amount. And R is the interest rate. Call it interest rate. Let me just write it here. R, it's called an interest rate. So the interest rate is in the form of a percentage. Interest rate, and the T is the term. T is the term. It can be number of years, number of months, it does not matter. Let's write T there. Is the term. Oh, okay. Let me create a space here because I want you guys to see properly. It's the term. T is the term. So as we have written our A, I'm gonna stick on A, guys, for this lesson, which is equals to PRT. So this equation you can rewrite it as A equal to P. You put bracket 1 minus RT like this way. So it's still the same principle. So in this question for simple interest, they will talk to you, they will tell you that okay, you have invested. Let's say, for example, I'm gonna state a question now. I'm just gonna assume maybe we are doing this question. Let's say it says, question says, state that you invested you invested how much? Let's say 3,000. You invest 3,000 in a simple interest. I will just say SI, simple interest. SI means simple interest. Remember that, in simple interest for 3 years. For 3 years at uh, let's say 11% interest rate. Interest, okay, rate. I will just say IR, interest rate. So the question, you invested 3,000 in simple interest for 3 years at 11% interest rate per annum, PA, that's PA per annum. So it says calculate how much will you have, how much, say how much, how much will you have in 3 years? How much will you have? How much will you have in 3 years? I'm just gonna write 3 in 3 years. So that was the question. Alright, let me see something. Yeah, this one is gonna work. Yeah, I think so. Yes, this is the one that I wanted because I couldn't write properly there. Alright, let me just say R3S. So that's a question. So if we read this question properly, you will understand that you will have to first write this, what everything that we have written there. You have to first analyze your question. So let me use read them. We have invested. When the question says you have invested, you must remember that is a principal amount, is P. So which means our P there is 3,000. 3,000. And then we have R, which is the interest rate is 11%. But you can write this 11% as the same as 0.11. And you have your T, which is term. We told that is 3 years. So now when you have this, we have to find A, or we can say S, which it's an unknown. So in order to find A, which is an unknown, we can calculate A. Now let's calculate A. You can use this formula. A equals to P R T, or A equals to P in brackets 1 minus R T. So if you see, this is a simple interest which we're gonna use. So it's gonna multiply there and multiply there again. So when we use it, this one PRT, so you might see that it looks different when, because this 1 plus is not minus, it's supposed to be plus there. It's gonna say that and that. So this is when you're calculating, when you write it in this form PRT. So it's when you are calculating the principal amount, interest rate, and number of terms. When you are calculating the interest that you're going to gain. So, but when these two equations, we cannot say exactly they are the same now, because if you simplify this one, it's going to say P plus P RT. So if you see the PRT there is for interest that you have gained. So I was not supposed to name it as P there, A there. I'm supposed to name it as I. So I'm gonna use I there. So they are not really the same. I'm making a correction. This is I, is for interest. So in that equation there, this is a cumulative amount, principal amount. For this 1 year, for what we did before, we are going to change it not to A, we are going to change it to I, so that it can be fine. So the I, it means the amount that you accumulate, the interest that you accumulated is I. Let's use I there. Is for interest that you have gained when you invested this amount P. So which means if you use this one, I'm gonna show you how you're gonna work it out. Now let's go back to our question. You will see what I'm talking about. So just bear with me that this is I. So when we calculate, if I start with, let me start with I so that you can see what I'm talking about. So if I start with I, which is interest that I'm going to gain with 3,000, when I invest my 3,000 PRT, I'm going to say my I is going to be 3,000 multiplied by 0.11 multiplied by again by 3 years. So if we use a calculator, let's calc if I have a calculator here, as I do. So if we use a calculator, our calculator, where is the calculator? Okay, I want a calculator. But if we use a calculator to calculate that, where is that calculator? Okay, okay, it's opening. We're going to say 3,000 multiplied by 0.11, you multiply it by 3, then you will see that we are getting 900 and we got 900 and what? 990. 990. 990. 990. So in order for you to get a cumulative amount, you will have to add 3,000 plus this I, which is 990, and the total amount here you will see that is equal to 3,990. But instead of using this method, you can just go straight to this equation, the one that I just wrote now. So when you do that, we'll use it now so that you can see what we mean. So if you're using this equation for A, which is equals to, you're going to say 3,000 for P. P is a principal amount, is the money that you invested. If the question says invested, borrowed, you remember that you put that amount in P. So it's going to be 3,001 minus 0.11 multiplied by 3. So if we solve this, you can first solve what is in the brackets so that you don't make mistakes. We can calculate what is in the brackets. What we have in the brackets, we have 1 minus, let me see if let me use the scientific calculator. Let me change it to scientific. Yes, this is going to be fine. We have 1 minus 0.11 multiplied by 3 close brackets. Then we got 0.67 0.67, and we can use a calculator again to calculate the results. So 0.6, and we can just say multiply by 3,000. You will see that is giving us, okay, it's not really giving us what we need. We used minus, we have to use plus, it's not minus. Why? I'm not surprised why today I'm changing it to plus. So it's supposed to be my plus there, so it's supposed to say 1 plus close brackets. Because I'm a scientific calculator, you can use your Casio. Let me show you how I can even do it fast. I can just say 3,000 close brackets 1 plus 0.11 multiplied by 3 close brackets again equals to, you can see that the moment when I dilate is giving us exactly 3,990 as we did there. So this is the simple way if you are using this formula to get the answer, the accumulative amount. a principal in a simple interest. So I want to check something here based on, let me see. I want to check something. Okay, bear with me quickly. I want to check this. There is something that I really want to check. I want to check one question that is all about the, it's not this one. That's all about the as like a simple interest. Before we move far, yes, this is a good question. So it says an amount of 3,450 is what? An amount of 3,450 and simple interest and accumulates to 5,623.5. After 7 years, he had yearly interest rate in 2% more, and says how much interest will he have accumulated in 7 years. So here, this question is very tricky. This question, the tricky question part here, an amount of simple in interest. So what we know now that we have P, which is equal to, P is equal to 3,400 and what? 450, and then and simple interest, which is SI, simple interest, which is SI, and accumulates to, accumulate means it's a accumulation, remember, accumulates to 5,623.50. In 7 years is our T. T equals to 7 years. T equals to 7. I'm just showing you how to answer these kind of questions. T equals to 7 years. So after T1 is 7 years, he says he had the yearly interest rate in 2% more. 2% more. 2% more. Okay. How much interest will he have accumulated in the 7 years? How much interest? So 2% more. Here we need how much. The question says how much interest would he have accumulated in the 7 years? How much interest he would have accumulated in the 7 years? So now we must know that he had what, 2%. So if you have to calculate the interest without 2%, you can use I, which is equals to P RT. So when you use this one, I equals to PRT, you have 3,450. But this one, I'm just showing you to calculate if there was no more 222% more. Multiply by what? Multiply by interest, which is we don't really know. We are not told about the interest. And we are told that this accumulate to what? It accumulate for 7 years, multiply by 7. So we need the interest, so it can accumulate to this amount. So which means we're going to need to use this equation for A. Let me just write it in the board, guys, because here I'm not writing it perfect. Let me write it here. That question, we all know the values. So we gonna use this equation. A equals to P in bracket 1 minus RT. And where we have A, I think is 5,000. Yes, is our A is 5,623. 5,623.5, which is equals to 3,450, if I'm not mistaken. 450 in bracket 1 minus R and 7 years. So if you see in this equation here, we can divide by 350. If we divide by 3,550, we will be left with 1 minus R, 7R. We'll just write 7R equals to 5 623.50 divided by 3450. And if you can take this. This is plus, guys. Why am I thinking about depreciation today? It's not negative, it's positive here, guys. Take into that so it's gonna take this one, we're gonna take it the other side. So if you use your calculator, let's just use our calculator quickly. But if you use your calculator, I just wanted to check some functions. Okay, let me just erase. So if we say 5623.50, we divide it by 3450, it's going to be equals to 1.63. We got 1.63, so which means 1 plus 7r equals to 1.6. Is it 1.63? Let me check it. 1.63. 1.63. So we gonna subtract. Let's take this one, the other side is gonna subtract, which means you're gonna have 7r equal to 1.63 minus 1, and you will get 0.63 equals to 7r, and your r, you're gonna divide it by 0.63 divide by 7. You can use your calculator for that to get the answer. So when we use the calculator to get the answer, it will state that 0.63 we divide it by 7 is going to be equals to 0.09, which if you multiply by 100, you will get 9%. Get 9% for R. So which means R, now we got 9%. But if we go to our question, it asks us for getting the interest rate. So when we got 9%, obviously they say it's 2 more. So it's gonna be plus, which means we're gonna add plus 2%. It's gonna be 11%. So if we have 11% now, I will show you something. If you say 0.11, you multiply it by 3450 and multiply it by 7 years, you will see that you are getting 2656 interest for that amount. And if you get in that amount, and if you check again, if we say okay, yeah, it's 2656. So if you check again here, if you calculate with these answers, they will be there, all of them, because they want to confuse you. 3450 multiplied by 3450 multiplied by 0.09, you multiply it by 7 years, then you will see that this one, it won't be there. I don't see it, yeah, but the one that you saw there is 2600 and something, 50, I think it's 50 2000. I'm not sure if it's 650. Let's just do that calculation again. Is 3450 multiplied by 7, you multiply by 0.11. Okay, I didn't type it properly. 3450 multiplied by 0.11 multiplied by 7. You can see that the amount there is going to be number C. So that's how you do it actually. That's how you calculate it. So let's proceed with the other question. So the other thing you might ask yourself what will happen before we proceed. If you check, you can also verify something. So if you check here, you say 5, 6, 2, 3.5, 0.55, you subtract it by 3, 4, 5, you will see that you're getting that amount there. Then when you get in this amount, the interest that we get there, it was 2000. That was not really an answer. 2656 point, I think is what, 0.5. Yeah, 0.5. If you subtract by 0.5 there, you will see that you get 486. Ignore the negative. So the question, they didn't say the whole interest, so they wanted you to calculate this one for interest when you gain by 2%. So which means what you were supposed to do, you're supposed to calculate this one by also by what, by 11, 0, 0.11. In other words, let me say, you're supposed to calculate I when it's 0, 0.11, and you also calculate I when it's 0, 0.09. Then you subtract the two, then you're gonna get this amount, which is this one. The answer is this one. So you're gonna get 483. So this one is just the accumulative amount that you get if you have added these two. So I hope you have understood this question, and if you have questions based on this, you can ask me and I will respond to you guys. So let's go back again to, let's continue with our questions. So now you understand a little bit of a simple interest. So I'm going to simplify something. For simple interest, you have two formula that I've talked about. The I equals to PRT, whereby I is interest that you're going to earn in terms of money. P is principal amount, the money that is going to be investing. R is an interest rate, and T is what is a term, number of term. And I also talked to you about I equals to P for 1 plus, was always making mistake writing plus 1 minus, is plus RT. So this one is for accumulative amount, sum to principal amount still, interest rate, and the number of terms. So you must learn how to use this equation, these two equations. So if you, and also guys, if you need to join the class, if you are watching this video, feel free to WhatsApp me at 0723373640. The number is going to be in the description below. So now we're going to move a little bit to compound interest. Let's move to compound. Compound interest. So this one we're gonna call it CI. CI means compound interest. Gonna be meaning compound interest. So compound interest, the formula for compound interest is A equals to P in brackets 1 plus I. This I, it means interest to the power n. So in your books they might write it maybe R. They can say S equals to P in brackets 1 plus R to the power T. That's how they write it. It's still the same. You can use the same formulas. So this A is accumulative amount, P principal amount, 1 and I interest rate or R interest rate, and N or T is the same as number of terms. So when you understand this formula, you can work any question based on accumulative amount. So they will tell you that you invested this amount. This actually, this one I'm going to leave it to you guys as not really a homework. We're gonna continue it on the class. So what I'm going to do, there are things that you have to take into account, which whereby I have to explain to you. The first thing, you must know when they say per annum, they mean Once I'm gonna explain to you the second one, you must know when they say compounded. Compounded. This one I was supposed to write compounded annually. Yeah, compounded monthly. And also you must know when they say compounded. Compounded semi. Semi. It can be semi-yearly. And then the fourth one, it can be compounded half yearly, semi-yearly, and half yearly is the same, or biannually is the same. It's the same thing. So when they say compounded annually, it's like you divide your interest by one, and then you also multiply your t by 1. But when they say compounded monthly, you divide your interest by 12 and you multiply your t if it's in terms of years by 12. But if it's already in terms of months, your t, you just leave it as it is. And then compounded similarly, you divide it by 2. It's like semester. If they say semester, you must take it like that, and then you multiply your t by the number of years by 2. And then compounded quarterly, I'll just say compounded, I will just say quarterly. Quarterly is by 4. You divide your R by 4 and you multiply by number of years by 4. So others, like I'm gonna discuss more on this, and then we are still going to do things like what is it, like future value, like mortgage bond when you are calculating for mortgage bonds, and then yes, and so on. There are many of things, and then we are still going to do timelines, more important. So this is just a brief class that you must know what we're going to cover. And if you are interested in joining this class, feel free to WhatsApp me. I'm available, and then I'm gonna respond to you. Thank you. Have a good day, guys.